Having a physical disability and poor mental health is a battle many are fighting and winning. This is #IGotThis. On this episode of #IGotThis, living outside the box, a small-town artist with vision loss and a big-city wheelchair dancer both refuse to let their physical challenges define the passion in their lives.
And up, out.
Music and movement feeds Taylor Denny's soul.
And windmill.
She grew up attending an inclusive dance studio, one of the only places she feels truly comfortable as herself, in her chair. This creative outlet and the people who are part of it remind Taylor that she can partake in her passion. She just needs to use a wheelchair to do it.
4 and
My name is Taylor Denny. I'm 18 years old and I have cerebral palsy. My version of CP is called spastic diplegia, which means I have a lot of muscle spasticity. So things like loud noises or high exertion can trigger a lot of different spasms, and depending on where they are in my body, they can make my muscles move like to varying intensities.
Time you have to be there today?
Taylor's mom often helps her get ready for the day, like brushing her hair into a ponytail and making breakfast, tasks that are tough for her arms to manage. Nearly every muscle in Taylor's body is affected by the CP. All the doctor's appointments, hospital trips, and surgeries in her 18 years have had an impact on her mental health.
Being in a hospital in general or any medical facility for an extended amount of time, even if it's just for like an hour, puts a different kind of exhaustion on my brain that I can't really describe. Like, just implanted a lot of trauma in my brain. So I get very anxious about like even day-to-day things. So my friends are like, hey, you want to go out? But then I get anxious because I'm like, is the place accessible? Does it have good bathrooms? Like, am I going to be able to do this independently, or am I going to need to ask for help? And also doing surgery, it's like, how is my body going to react to this? How am I going to be like after I recover?
The majority of Taylor's anxiety is related to her CP. She calls it a strain on her brain. She's been worrying about her health and accessibility since she was a kid.
Up until like grade 4, people were like, oh, she's cool. She's like half cyborg. And then like grade 5, grade 6 came and they're like, she's weird. Something's wrong with her. I've lost a lot of friendships over it, to be completely honest. I'll hang out with people and then they realize how, like, not like broken I am, but they'll realize how difficult it is sometimes to be my friend. And they're like, actually, let's not.
Taylor has been excluded from school activities and play dates. Strangers often stare or ask questions. She gets frustrated when people don't know how to treat her.
And some people make judgments, or like they subconsciously like ignore someone with disability just because that's not normal and they don't know how to deal with it. So instead of learning how to deal with it, they're just like, we're gonna pretend this doesn't exist.
That hurts, and it affects her confidence. When she does make plans to go out, she'll obsess about the possible difficulties.
The day of, I'm like, oh, I don't wanna go. This is gonna be super stressful. Like, I don't know how the building is. I don't know how long we're gonna be gone. I don't know a whole bunch of variables, right?
Taylor admits she's a bit of a hermit and is often found with her headphones on, listening to music. It's her getaway from the noise of life.
Gives me an outlet to either like recoup some energy or get energy out. It's kind of just like, oh, you're having a rough day? Music. You're having a good day? Music. You're having trouble studying? Music. Like, it's just kind of my go-to for a lot of things. No!
She also spends a lot of time playing board games and watching movies at home with her mom and dad. She'd prefer friends come here, where she feels safe.
here we go.
The only other place anxiety doesn't follow her is the dance studio. Taylor started dancing when she was 6 years old. Her troupe is called Wheels in Motion. 3 of the young women in their mid-20s use a chair in their daily life, while the instructor and 2 assistant dancers are able-bodied.
Push, push, fly left arm, turn to the right and go.
During practice, the group works on their latest routine and on techniques to promote power generation, like gliding, so their arms are free to fully express along with the music. The dance chairs are lighter, with angled wheels to move more fluidly through the choreographed formations.
Like, it's more than just a creative outlet, it's an emotional outlet too. I go in there feeling down, or like I'm having a rough day, I'm angry, and then it just feels like a weight gets lifted off a little bit. Because yes, there's exercise which releases all of the happy chemicals in your brain, but there's also a sounding board where you can be like, hey, I'm going through a rough time. Can y'all give me some advice, or can I vent? And they're like, we got you, we've done this before, like try a different approach. Like, it's just good for your mind and your body. A lot of the time we come out and we're laughing our butts off. Like, it's just a real fun time.
Their performances are articulate, artistic, and ability doesn't matter.
I don't feel different when I'm doing it because there's a whole bunch of us doing it. Like, it feels like I'm just one of the dancers. There's no segregation of me being disabled. It's just me doing something that I like with my friends. I feel almost free in a way. This is a thing that I have a strength in. This is a thing that I can do without assistance.
For as long as they want to.
Dance class also gives the moms a chance to sit back and connect with others who get it, what life is like parenting a different ability. The moms look forward to this dance break as much as their kids.
And raise up, switch.
This is a recreational activity, but it takes strength, concentration, and technique.
And back.
The dancers practice hard to perform for their families and at various events throughout the city. The freedom to dance as she is has been a powerful piece of Taylor's life. Danielle Cameron, with the Canadian Mental Health Association, says having a passion is extremely beneficial to mental health.
It gives you self-confidence and a sense of happiness. A lot of the time we're busy doing things for other people and we're not really taking that time for ourselves. And it can change the way that you do your passion. It may change, it may look different than other people's, but as long as you're still finding enjoyment in it, then I suggest that you keep at it.
Taylor can't imagine a life without dance.
Once you find your little spot and you get rooted in there, you're not gonna leave. And that's what dance was. Was I apprehensive as a 6-year-old entering dance? Yeah, but would I ever think of leaving now? Absolutely not.
Taylor recently summoned that same courage to try something else new, and she hopes the stress is worth it. Stay tuned. We'll be back with #IGotThis. Welcome back. This is #IGotThis. Taylor Denny is one of the fresh new first-year faces of the University of Saskatchewan. A new facility, people, circumstances, services, transportation system. It was almost too much.
So it has been quite the transition, and it's been quite a change, which has sparked a lot of anxiety. But it's also been really good because it's been teaching me how to become an adult in a way, because I have to advocate for myself a lot more than with a high school or public school system.
Figuring things out on her own has given her self-esteem a big boost. She's realizing while new experiences are stressful, that's part of life for everyone. Taylor's mom, Marilyn Westwood, has paved her daughter's path up to this point. So university is a big shift for her too.
It's hard. It's hard to let go of the control because you want to make sure everything works out. But it's also very empowering for her to be in control, and that's great. I'm very proud of her for doing it all and for growing up as a beautiful person that she is. She's really becoming a lot more independent, and in this year especially, going to university has been a lot more independence for her.
She's happy to see Taylor better managing her emotions, and Taylor is trying her best to live by some words of advice.
A lot of people in my life have taught me that shouldn't be in your vocabulary. Either you do it You do it, and if it doesn't work, that's fine, but at least you tried to do it.
A strong motto that another woman with a creative passion is trying to follow. But it's difficult to stay positive when you're an artist who is losing her vision.
My name is April Griffin. I'm 46 years old. I'm an autistic artist, and I have deteriorating vision.
That makes April scared for her future. Already, her face is inches from the canvas as she paints, her sole source of income. Several issues are causing the decline in her eyesight, and she has also developed floaters. Her vision loss accelerated a decade ago.
I was about 36, and when we started to notice it was through photos of me painting. I was getting closer and closer to the canvases and to the walls that I was muraling. You know, I was right up to them, about an inch or so away. And then the floaters, they move around. When my eyes move around, they move with them. And what it's like is like looking through a veil, like a cobweb of black lines. And they obscure your vision as well. So things like driving I can't do anymore. Dot art, the finer art that I used to do, beading is too hard for me now. Those things I've lost them.
It feels like she's losing pieces of her life, her purpose, because art is April's world and has been ever since the awkward, lonely kid with autism was handed a paintbrush.
And it meant everything to me. It's not just autism, so you're coping with a whole bunch of disabilities that affect your schoolwork. It affects your ability to socialize with other people. It was hard, it was really hard, and I was a very lonely child. I spent a lot of time by myself. Art became a shelter for me.
April still spends most of her time in solitude, uncovering her creativity. But now she's able to do so in her studio, surrounded by her own eclectic, colorful collection. From landscapes on canvas and northern lights painted on metal to indigenous symbols with dot art.
This is a safe place for me. You know, all my favorite things are in here, and it's a place where I've got a lot of control over my environment and can just do my artwork.
April worked hard and overcame much to get where she is today. Most of her life, her vision loss was quite slow, so her biggest challenges stemmed from her autism. Yet, that's also what helped her focus on her talent.
So I started to win awards when I was 10, and it just kept on going from there. I've won international awards for my artwork, and I've exhibited all over the world now. So my art is in 26 different countries at this point. I have collectors everywhere. I do every type of art. One of the things that is unique about me is my range. My art was always growing and changing. I move from style to style. I've done just about everything. The artwork was a way for me to work while being disabled, and it gave me a way to live and be independent. So I have my independence through my artwork. It's very important to me that way.
Even with such successes, April battled depression and anxiety, often related to her vision loss or her autism and the stigma that surrounds it. She's seen the same ignorance toward her Indigenous family, so she uses her art to educate. During any interviews, speeches, or exhibits, you can bet autism and racism will be addressed. Or she just lets the art speak for itself.
I talk about political issues sometimes in my artwork, what's going on around us. So I use it as a way to try to bring the cultures closer together around me, because I'm from multiple cultures. And that's one of the ways that I use my artwork, is to encourage inclusion, and I talk about all kinds of different issues through my art. And my art was the vehicle that made people listen, and it became a way for me to talk about these things that were not being discussed.
The art world has offered so much more in life than April expected.
Mentally, art allows me to help deal with my anxieties, and it helps me keep my focus. I work through my emotions and my feelings that way, and just being in the zone when I'm painting, I call it being in another realm. It's a timeless place for me where I lose track of time in the world around me. I very often don't hear, unless I'm teaching, I don't hear when I'm painting. I just become completely absorbed in what I'm doing. So it's very much a stress release for me, but it is a way that I communicate with the world and put out how I'm feeling, what's going on in my life. All right, so what we're gonna do is very fast acrylic pour paint.
And although April calls herself a big-time hermit, through art, she is able to socialize in a comfortable way.
The arts community is a community that is more accepting than many other communities, and tolerant of diversity. Like, I find, to me, the arts community is really a place where I belong.
And now, with her failing eyesight, April's focus is shifting.
We have a black canvas, but I'm still going to put some on there to flow it really well.
Aspiring young artists want to learn her tricks of the trade before she is forced to change careers permanently. Stay tuned. We'll be back with hashtag I Got This. Welcome back. This is hashtag I Got This. After 15 years, April Griffin knows every crack and bump in the sidewalk as she makes her way along Main Street to her art studio. She's lived all over North America, now calling Arborfield, Saskatchewan, population 300, her home.
With losing my eyesight, it's kind of handy because it's a very small town and there isn't a lot of traffic. I almost don't need to see to go where I'm going.
When April flicks on the lights of her art studio, she feels at home. She knows everything is in its place. But as her sight deteriorates, she's starting to rely more on others. She can no longer drive or read off a menu. The loss of any independence is tough to swallow, but for April, it's much more.
To lose my vision as an artist, I mean, it means that I'm facing the end of my art career, which is one reason why I'm in school right now. Like, I'm hoping through psychology and anthropology, I will be able to make myself employable when my eyesight is gone, because I really don't know what I'm going to do when the art is over, and that is becoming a fast reality. A lot of people think that I'm going to paint the way that I have forever. Like, in 1 year I did 875 paintings. Like, that kind of prolific artwork, it's just going to come to an end. So what I'm painting now is really the tail end of my career. It's winding down. I've got to make myself employable before that happens in some other trade. And that's going to be difficult, so I'm hoping that I can get through school. And I'm in a hurry to get through school too, because it's getting harder and harder to do my homework. So I really need to get it done.
How's it going?
It's going.
Her good friend John Klein is watching this tough transition and trying to support her. He knows April is ambitious and will succeed in school finding a new path. He just doesn't want to see her lose the best parts of herself.
She's a brilliant artist. She's very intelligent. What does the future look like for her? I see her always doing art. She could progress into, say, anthropology or psychiatry. But I still always see her, and it's probably just because I've known her for 9 years, that I always see art being there with her, because that really is what defines her.
April has no plans to give up on her art. She will do it for as long as she can, any way she can, like taking photos of her work as she's painting, so she can then zoom in and bring the phone about 6 inches from her face where her eyes focus the best. April's talent often attracts up-and-coming artists to her studio to work with her.
You can use all different kinds of things to spread this paint around. I'm using a palette knife right now, but you can use a heat gun.
Lately, she's been advising more than usual.
I mentor lots of other artists, all different ages, on the autism spectrum, off the autism spectrum, from kids to senior citizens. And the young millennial artists say they need to learn all my secrets now before my eyesight's completely gone.
Some days, the anxiety of that realization is too much, and she's had to find other ways to bolster her mental health.
It's usually in the morning when I have to have a cry before I start my day. I'll have a cry, and I require some quiet time over my coffee, a little bit of solitude where I get myself together. So I'll release those emotions in the morning usually and then go about my day. But I try to be a very positive person. I practice a lot of self-care. to manage my anxiety, but I do have severe levels of anxiety. People are laughing at self-care now, but I do the facials and the warm baths. It's a part of my day. It's a highlight of my day. It kind of keeps me going. So self-care is about eating good, exercising good, getting enough sleep, trying to maintain some social connections in my life are all ways of caring for myself.
Danielle with the Canadian Mental Health Association says people should have a variety of ways to boost their physical and mental health.
It is possible to have more than one thing that you're passionate about, and that really does help with our self-care. Self-care is so vital to our mental health. It helps us to de-stress, to relax. It really elevates our mood. So having more than one passion to fall back on is always really great for your self-care and your happiness.
April is taking life one day at a time and doing the best she can to look after her mind and body as she prepares for an uncertain future. But one thing is clear.
And 4, come 1, 2.
Like with Taylor Denny's wheelchair dancing, no matter how their abilities change over time, these women will always find a pathway to their passion.
Hashtag
I got this.
Narrator Martin Yap. Video production Honeycut Studios. Integrated Described Video Specialist M. Williams. Content Development Specialist Jim Crisco. Coordinating Producer Jennifer Johnson. Director of Production Kara Nye. Director of Programming Brian Perdue. VP Content Development and Programming John Melville. President and CEO David Arrington. Copyright 2022, AMI Accessible Media Inc.